Welcome, everyone. In this lecture, we will clearly understand two of the most important maritime decarbonization regulations affecting the shipping industry today: the European Union Emissions Trading System, commonly called EU ETS, and FuelEU Maritime. These regulations are part of the European Union's major climate strategy, known as the Fit for 55 package. Their objective is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from shipping and push the industry towards cleaner and more sustainable operations. In this session, we will understand why these regulations were introduced, how EU ETS works, how FuelEU Maritime works, the major differences between them, compliance requirements, penalties, and practical strategies shipping companies are using to comply. For MEO Class 1 examination, this topic is extremely important because it combines technical knowledge, environmental regulations, operational management, and financial implications.
First, let us understand why the European Union introduced these regulations. Shipping is considered one of the major contributors to greenhouse gas emissions globally. If emissions continue without control, they may increase significantly by the year 2050. The European Union therefore established strict climate targets: 55% net greenhouse gas reduction by 2030 and climate neutrality by 2050. These targets are connected with the Paris Agreement and the EU Fit for 55 package. To achieve this, the EU adopted two major maritime regulations: EU ETS, which creates a carbon pricing mechanism, and FuelEU Maritime, which controls fuel greenhouse gas intensity. A very important exam point: EU ETS gives a price signal by making emissions costly. FuelEU Maritime gives a fuel transition mandate by encouraging cleaner fuels. Before we continue further, if you are finding these MEO Class 1 lectures useful and easy to understand, please subscribe to the channel. I am making these detailed maritime engineering and maritime law lectures specially for serious MEO Class 1 candidates with accurate explanations, latest regulations, and exam-focused concepts. Your one subscription motivates me to continue making high-quality technical content like this completely free for marine engineers. Also, comment below which topic you want next, whether it is EU regulations, IMO decarbonization, MARPOL, EEXI, CII, salvage law, or shipboard practical operations. Now let us continue with the next important concept.
Now let us understand the Fit for 55 package. The main aim of this package is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 55% by the year 2030. For the maritime sector, two key regulations were introduced: EU ETS for Maritime from 2024 and FuelEU Maritime from 2025. Together, these regulations aim to reduce emissions, encourage low-carbon fuels, improve ship efficiency, and achieve long-term decarbonization. A very important conceptual understanding is this: cleaner fuels reduce emissions, and lower emissions reduce ETS costs. So both regulations are interconnected and work together. Both EU ETS and FuelEU Maritime have a common scope. They apply to commercial ships of 5,000 gross tonnage and above, operating to or from EU and EEA ports. Now let us understand the geographical coverage carefully. For voyages between EU or EEA ports, 100% emissions are covered. For voyages between EU and non-EU ports, 50% emissions are covered. Another important point is the EU MRV system. EU MRV means monitoring, reporting, and verification. It forms the foundation for both EU ETS and FuelEU Maritime compliance. This means if reporting is poor or inaccurate, companies may face financial and operational risks. Now let us discuss the EU MRV system in more detail. The EU MRV system was introduced in 2018. Its purpose is to monitor and report ship emissions. Today, MRV data is used directly for ETS allowance calculation and FuelEU compliance calculation. Earlier, MRV was mainly a reporting system, but now it directly affects financial liability because incorrect data may increase penalties or compliance costs. Therefore, accurate fuel consumption data, voyage data, and emission reporting are extremely important. Now let us begin understanding the EU Emissions Trading System, or EU ETS. EU ETS is a market-based cap-and-trade system. It is based on the polluter pays principle. This means companies producing emissions must pay for them. The system became effective for maritime shipping from 1 January 2024. A key term here is EUA, European Union Allowance. 1 EUA gives the right to emit 1 ton of carbon dioxide equivalent. Ships must surrender sufficient EUAs corresponding to their emissions. Now let us understand the cap and trade concept. Under EU ETS, the EU sets a total emission limit called the cap. This cap is gradually reduced every year to push industries towards decarbonization. Companies can buy allowances, sell unused allowances, or bank allowances for future use. As the cap becomes lower, EUA availability decreases, EUA prices increase, financial pressure to reduce emissions becomes stronger. This creates an economic motivation for shipping companies to adopt cleaner technologies and fuels. Let us now study what emissions are covered under EU ETS. From 2024, only carbon dioxide emissions are included. From 2026, methane and nitrous oxide emissions will also be included. From 2027, offshore ships will also come under ETS coverage. Applicable ships include cargo ships above 5,000 GT, passenger ships above 5,000 GT. This gradual expansion shows that EU regulations are becoming stricter over time. Now, let us understand ETS geographical coverage carefully. For voyages between EU ports, 100% emissions are counted. For voyages between EU and non-EU ports, only 50% emissions are counted. There is also an anti-evasion rule. Some ships may try to avoid ETS costs by stopping at nearby non-EU transshipment ports close to Europe. To prevent this, container ships calling at transshipment ports within 300 nautical miles of an EU port may still remain liable for ETS emissions. This rule prevents companies from bypassing ETS obligations. Now, let us study the annual compliance cycle. Step 1. The company submits a monitoring plan. Step 2. The company monitors and verifies emissions. Step 3. By March 31st each year, verified emissions data must be submitted. Step 4. By September 30, the company must surrender the required EUAs. This cycle repeats annually and requires strict data management and verification. To reduce sudden financial burden, EU ETS compliance is introduced gradually. For emissions of 2024, companies surrender allowances for 40% emissions. 2025, 70%. 2026 onwards, 100%. This phased implementation helps the shipping industry adapt progressively. Now let us discuss MOHA, Maritime Operator Holding Account. A MOHA account is necessary for buying EUAs, trading EUAs, and surrendering EUAs. However, many companies face practical difficulties such as administrative delays, registry activation problems, need for digital systems.
This teaches us an important lesson. ETS compliance is not only a technical challenge, but also a financial and administrative challenge.
Now, let us understand ETS penalties. Failure to surrender sufficient allowances leads to a penalty of €100 per ton of carbon dioxide equivalent. But remember one very important point. Paying the penalty does not remove the obligation to surrender the missing allowances. This means company pays the penalty and still has to submit the allowances. Persistent non-compliance may even result in a ban from EU trading. This is why EU ETS is considered a very stringent regulation.
Now we move to FuelEU Maritime. FuelEU Maritime becomes effective from 2025 and is a performance-based regulation. Its main aim is to reduce greenhouse gas intensity of marine fuels. The difference between ETS and FuelEU is very important. ETS prices emissions. FuelEU limits fuel greenhouse gas intensity. So ETS controls emissions economically, while FuelEU pushes fuel transition technically.
FuelEU Maritime uses a well-to-wake methodology. This means emissions are counted across the entire fuel lifecycle: extraction, production, transportation, and combustion on board. This provides a more realistic environmental assessment. Compare this with ETS, which mainly follows the tank-to-wake approach, focusing on onboard combustion emissions only.
The FuelEU Maritime baseline is 91.16 grams carbon dioxide equivalent per megajoule. This baseline is based on the year 2020 and serves as the reference value for future reductions. The regulation gradually reduces allowable greenhouse gas intensity up to 2050. FuelEU Maritime reduction targets increase progressively. The targets are 2025, 2% reduction, 2030, 6%, 2035, 14.5%, 2040, 31%, 2045, 62%, 2050, 80% reduction. This provides a predictable long-term decarbonization pathway for the industry.
One major advantage of FuelEU Maritime is that it is technology neutral. Operators can choose different compliance methods, such as biofuels, LNG, methanol, RFNBO fuels, wind-assisted propulsion, efficiency improvements. This flexibility encourages innovation and allows operators to choose solutions suitable for their operations.
FuelEU Maritime also introduces onshore power supply requirements from 2030. Passenger ships and container ships, at berth, must connect to shore power instead of running auxiliary engines. Objectives are: reduce port pollution, reduce emissions while alongside. Remember, OPS is separate from fuel intensity targets and is an additional compliance requirement. RFNBO means renewable fuels of non-biological origin. Examples include green hydrogen, e-ammonia. To encourage early adoption, until 2033, FuelEU allows double counting of greenhouse gas savings from RFNBO fuels. From 2034, a 2% RFNBO sub-target may apply if industry-wide usage remains low. FuelEU Maritime offers flexibility mechanisms not available under ETS. These are pooling, banking, borrowing. Pooling. Surplus compliance from one ship can offset another ship's deficit. Banking. Unused surplus can be carried forward. Borrowing. Future compliance credits may be used now, but with a 10% surcharge. These mechanisms give operators greater operational flexibility. FuelEU Maritime penalties are intentionally very high. Penalty is approximately €640 per ton carbon dioxide equivalent, or around €2,400 per ton VLSFO equivalent gap. This is much higher than ETS penalties.
The idea is simple. The EU wants companies to actually comply rather than simply pay fines.
Now, let us compare ETS and FuelEU Maritime. EU ETS, Emission Pricing System, Cap and Trade Mechanism, measures emissions volume, mainly tank-to-wake basis. FuelEU Maritime, fuel intensity limitation, performance mandate, measures energy intensity, uses well-to-wake basis. This difference is extremely important for examinations.
Tank-to-wake means only onboard combustion emissions are counted. Well-to-wake means the entire fuel life cycle is counted: extraction, production, transportation, combustion. Therefore, well-to-wake provides a more realistic environmental assessment.
This slide explains one of the biggest legal differences. Under EU ETS, shipowner is primarily responsible. Responsibility may be delegated to the ISM company. Under FuelEU Maritime, ISM company alone is responsible. Obligation is non-delegable. This may create charter party disputes because different parties may bear compliance responsibility.
One important strategic understanding is that one compliance action may help both regulations simultaneously. For example, using lower carbon fuel reduces FuelEU GHG intensity deficit and reduces ETS allowance requirement. Therefore, cleaner fuel investment gives dual compliance benefits.
Key compliance strategies include fuel switching, biofuel, LNG, methanol, operational efficiency, slow steaming, hull optimization, propeller optimization, weather routing, digital monitoring, real-time emission tracking, fuel monitoring systems. These measures reduce both emissions and compliance cost.
Pooling allows over-compliant ships to help deficit ships achieve compliance. Benefits include flexible compliance, lower compliance cost, avoidance of heavy penalties. However, pooling works effectively only when some ships operate on very low greenhouse gas intensity fuels. Modern decarbonization compliance requires digital transformation. Companies need real-time monitoring, accurate reporting, compliance simulation tools. Managing ETS, FuelEU, pooling, and financial liabilities simultaneously is impossible without strong digital systems.
There is industry concern regarding overlap between EU regulations and future IMO net zero regulations. Companies fear possible double penalties for the same emissions if both EU and IMO systems apply simultaneously. Therefore, companies must develop flexible and future-proof compliance strategies. For examination purposes, remember these important values carefully. ETS Start 2024, FuelEU Start 2025, ETS Penalty €100 per ton CO2 equivalent, FuelEU Penalty €640 per ton CO2 equivalent. FuelEU Baseline 91.16 grams CO2 equivalent per megajoule. OPS Start 2030. ETS Full Coverage 2026 onwards. To conclude, EU ETS creates financial pressure through carbon pricing. FuelEU Maritime creates technical transition pressure through fuel greenhouse gas intensity limits. Together, they drive economic pressure, technical transition, operational transformation. The future of shipping depends on decarbonization, digitalization, and strong compliance management. If you found this lecture useful for your MEO Class 1 preparation, make sure to subscribe to the channel and comment below which maritime topic you want next.
Thank you.